Hey you! Want to watch a director ruin a classic horror franchise by delivering a generic lazy cash grab movie, but that ain't Halloween, Candyman or Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Want to watch a flick about disrespectful little children who say and do super rude and inappropriate things? And where the adults instantly jump to assuming they're possessed instead of just being regular kids raised and influenced by current day toxic social media culture? Or do you just want to enjoy a remake of a horror classic, but don't like fun, scares, or even staying awake for extended periods of time? Well, have I got just the movie for you, fella? For I give you The Exorcist. Believe me when I tell you, this movie is a complete and utter snooze fest. I mean, The Exorcist Believer. A movie so thrilling. Even the characters get so bored they resort to licking windows and also flicking light switches on and off just to pad out the runtime.
How dare you!
The film stars Leslie Odom Jr. and Lidjar Jewett as a single father who loses his daughter Angela in the woods for 3 days and who then comes back from her trip totally changed, but not in a good way. Because she starts wetting the bed and taunting a local nurse about her abortion before hilariously smacking up her own dad. Whilst her mate Catherine, who was also lost in the woods with her for 3 days, starts being rude to her elders and also flicking her bean in the local church.
Oh good lord!
So their families soon recruit the help of the Vatican and a local priest to cleanse the girls of some sort of demon bloke who isn't even given a name, but who just ends up resisting their pathetic efforts and then giving them a choice to go ahead and save one of the girls whilst totally dooming the other one to an eternity in hell. But in a shocking twist, what no one could ever see coming, the evil demon ends up totally tricking the humans by releasing the girl who wasn't chosen whilst totally gobbling up the other, which just so happens to be the Caucasian one, because Hollywood producers can't possibly risk being accused of racism by letting them save Whitey over the stunning and brave ethnic minority bird.
Fact check.
That's true.
Also featuring OG cast member Ellen Burstyn, who, to be fair, has to be the best looking 91-year-old on the face of the planet, reprising her role from the original 70s film as Chris McNeil, who feels so guilty about not being able to help her own kid Reagan be exorcised that one time, that she bizarrely thinks that it's a super great idea to go face the unrestrained demonically possessed kid alone as a 90-year-old pensioner with no backup, despite clearly knowing what she'd be up against. And then hilariously having a shocked Pikachu face when she ends up leaving the gap with no eyeballs.
Nice.
But chock full of star-studded cameos, from the likes of Linda Blair and that psycho auntie woman from The Handmaid's Tale. The Exorcist Believer is a low-effort soulless R-rated horror remake like you've never seen it before. Well, unless you've seen Children of the Corn, Firestarter and Pet Sematary, I guess. Yep, the movie's a rip-roaring ride through highly original genre themes and tropes, like not keeping your kids close by and in sight at all times, and failing to recognise rather alarming warning signs, and mainly, how cliche raspy demon voices suddenly manifesting in young children after they've done mysterious occult rituals all alone in the woods for multiple days on end probably ain't a sign of simple mental health issues, but rather likely requires a fucking preacher man pronto.
Damn!
Directed by horror stalwart David Gordon Green, who previously made Pineapple Express and Your Highness, which admittedly weren't technically horrors but were horrifically bad enough to almost fucking qualify, the movie sure made a splash at the box office. Well, more like a small ripple I guess, given it opened to 26mm domestically, was hated by critics and fans alike, and failed so bad the director flat out resigned from future instalments, whilst the studio promptly cancelled plans for a trilogy despite paying $400 million for the franchise rights.
Go!
Which is sad, because the movie does attempt to ask deep philosophical questions about human nature, like can mankind stand its ground in the face of pure evil? And can a priest ever perform an exorcism in an Exorcist movie without getting himself totally deaded?
I guess not!
Ultimately, Exorcist the Believer is a cringe-fest edgelord movie where the filmmakers seem to think that having a bloody little girl mocking the church Eucharist in a loud raspy voice is remotely fresh and original, and that shoehorning current-day feminist messaging into the movie is a surefire ticket to box office gold. Like the infamous scene in which Chris blames the fucking patriarchy for not being able to be in the room when the two blokes were exorcising their daughter.
I didn't actually witness it, the exorcism. They wouldn't let me.
Why not?
My opinion, it's because I'm not a member of the damn patriarchy.
Yeah, you tell him, Gil. because I'm sure it's totally all the naughty misogyny that was the root cause of all that, and not at all because you were an emotionally compromised civilian and bona fide relative to the patient and thus highly susceptible to manipulation by the occupying demon, and would just be a total liability and inevitably get in the way of fighting the forces of fucking darkness and shit. So what's the verdict? Can I recommend this movie? Well, depends on if you can stomach writing so inconsistent. The parents just let their daughter out of their sight immediately after just getting her back from having gone missing for 3 days straight, and cops seemingly just being fine with finding a house filled with 2 dead bodies, a bunch of stolen hospital equipment, and a drugged up kid who just returned from being missing for 3 days straight. And also with dialogue so rote and cringe, I wouldn't be surprised if these writers, responsible for the likes of cinematic gems such as The Sitter, scribbled the script in the span of 20 minutes with the aid of ChatGPT and a fuck ton of shrooms.
Tonight you're going to die! You're all going to die.
Do something!
Lame. Not to mention bringing poor nonagenarian Ellen Bernstein back 50 years after her iconic performance, only to have her character physically and metaphorically eviscerated, and thus leading to the second exorcism she won't be able to see, before bizarrely forgetting every lesson she ever learned in the original film, and then being pointlessly pushed aside halfway through the movie and having no further bearing on the plot at all. But at least the old gal got a sweet paycheck for appearing in this trash, which she apparently used to fund a charity scholarship for budding actors. Aww. But at the end of the day, I suggest making your own mind up about this one. So I guess you just need to ask yourself a few questions. Have you always wondered what an Exorcist movie would be like, but if the characters totally fail in doing their one job of exorcising the demon, and it instead just leaves anticlimactically of its own accord after trolling the traumatised parents for shits and giggles? Do you just want to see an ending so tone deaf that it concludes with an inspiring speech about hope and belief, only moments after watching an innocent child literally get dragged to hell not even 5 minutes earlier? Or have you always just wanted to know if there could ever be an Exorcist movie that's somehow more tame and dull than The Heretic, while simultaneously wiping out the continuity of the vastly superior TV show? Well, if so, then The Exorcist: Believer, my friend, is the movie for you.